Hello, and welcome back to another episode of CEO Soapbox Podcast. I'm your host, Neda, and today we're starting a two-part podcast because it's very important. And this is about something almost every CEO, founder, MD, owner-led business, a leader, a business leader bumps into at some point, and that's lead generation. Or to be more specific, the question that why lead gen still feels unreliable even when the business is doing all the things: running ads, posting on LinkedIn, updating a website, trying email campaigns, going to networking events, buying booth at expo, building referral relationship, changing the offer, changing the copy, changing the salesperson, changing the marketing agency, changing the marketing manager, changing everything except the actual system behind the problem, or even considering it. And still, the business owner sits there thinking, why does this still feel so hit or miss? Why do inquiries come in 1 month and disappear the next? Why do some leads look good on paper but go absolutely nowhere? Why does the sales team say the leads are poor, but why do marketing sales is not following up properly and we're giving you a good lead, enough lead? Don't talk about, I've got to take that back. Not good lead, enough lead. Why does the business keep attracting buyers who are too small, too slow, too price sensitive, or not a good fit? And why does every so-called expert seems to have a different opinion? Like, you should try LinkedIn. Oh, no, try Google. You should do more video, post more content, build a different funnel, use AI, run webinar, get a booth on expos, send more emails. These are all lovely. But if the business still does not know who it is trying to attract, what problem it solves better than alternative, what makes a lead commercially valuable, and what happens after someone shows interest, then more tactics will not fix the problem. That will just create more noise for you. So today, in part one, I want to pull apart why lead gen feels unreliable in the first place. Then next week in part two, I will walk you through the practical 30 days diagnostic you can use with your team to find where the system is breaking. And yes, I'm also putting that diagnostic into a simple downloadable resource because I do not want you just listening and nodding along while folding laundry or driving to a meeting. I want you to be able to use it because reliable lead generation is not about finding one magic channel. It's not about copying someone else's funnel. It's not about posting more content until your will to live packs a bag and leave. I know how frustrating that can be. And it's definitely not about throwing more money at campaigns when the business underneath them is unclear. You see, reliable lead gen isn't a campaign, it's a system. And once you understand that, you stop asking what channels should be used and you start asking a much better question, and that is, where is the system breaking? And that's what we're going to get into today. So let's get into it. So some business owners that I talk to, and especially it came up in the past couple of months, and most recently, is that someone came to me and said, we have had success with a number of channels. We've experimented with messages and offers, but I'm not convinced any of it are truly reliable. And honestly, that is the question most CEOs should be asking. That's an amazing question. Not should we be on LinkedIn? Should we running Google ads, or should we post more, or should we try email again? The better question is, why does lead generation still feel inconsistent when we have already tried so much? Because that is usually where the real issue is hiding. When lead gen feels unreliable, most businesses assume, or most business owners assume, that they have a channel problem or an agency problem. So they jump from one thing to another. Google did not work or didn't give them what they thought it would in a very short time they tried. So let's try LinkedIn. LinkedIn, yep, proven to be expensive because it's actually a very good platform to advertise, but it's proven to be expensive for my business. So let's try email. Email was patchy, so let's go harder on referrals. Referrals, actually we tried it, unpredictable, so let's try events. Events and expos are slow, so let's try ads again. And around we go. 6 months later, the business has tested a lot, spent a lot, talked a lot, blamed a few people, and still does not have a predictable way to create quality sales opportunities. This is where I want to challenge the thinking a little, because sometimes the channel, the platform you're using is not the problem. Sometimes the channel is just exposing the problem. You see, if your ideal buyer is vague, the channel will show you that. If your offer sounds the same as every other provider in your industry, the channel will show you that. If your message is too generic, the channel will show you that. If your sales process is slow or inconsistent or have no process in place, the platform, the channel will show you that. If your business attracts inquiries but cannot qualify them properly, guess what? The channel will show you that. If your team does not agree on what a good lead actually means, the channel will absolutely show you that. A channel can amplify a strong system. Don't get me wrong. The digital marketing platforms are amazing for businesses, but it cannot save a messy one. It cannot save a messy system. And this is where so many businesses burn money. And it doesn't matter. I worked with startups all the way to the established ones. This is where they make money, they burn money. They keep trying to fix lead gen at the campaign level when the issue is sitting deeper in the business. And some business owners do not want to hear this. Do not want to hear wrong buyer, weak offer, unclear positioning, generic message, no commercial point of difference, slow follow-ups, poor qualification, no clear handover between marketing and sales. There's no communication between those two teams. No feedback loop from inquiry to revenue or profit. Then everyone says the leads are bad. Okay, so don't get me wrong, maybe. The lead might be bad. Sometimes they are. But sometimes the business has not built a system properly enough to attract, qualify, and convert the right opportunities. That distinction matters because if you diagnose the wrong problem, you fix the wrong thing. And that gets expensive very quickly. Even though digital platforms are cheapest than the old way of advertising, it does get expensive very quickly. So before you change platform, change your marketing agency, get rid of your in-house marketing person, get rid of your sales person, increase spend, rebuild the website, and launch another campaign, my friend, pause. The first question is not, where should we advertise? I want your first question to be, what are we actually trying to make reliable? When we say lead generation is, I don't find it reliable. What are we actually trying to make reliable? And that brings us to the next part. That reliable thing. Here's where a lot of businesses get themselves into trouble. They say they want reliable lead gen, but when I ask what reliable means, I get so many different answers. For one business, reliable means more inquiries. For another, it means better quality inquiries. For another, it means fewer tire kickers. For another, it means more booked sales calls. For another, it means more qualified opportunities in the pipeline. For another, it means more profitable contract, project, or clients. They're not the same thing, my friend. And if you do not define what reliable means, you're not managing lead gen, okay? You're just reacting to noise. Because a business can generate a lot of inquiries. I guarantee you, yes, you can generate a lot of inquiries. Again, another good thing about digital platforms, but still have a weak pipeline. It can book a lot of calls and still waste the sales team's time. It can generate cheap leads and still attract the wrong buyers. It can create proposal, still lose because the buyer was never really a right fit. This is where the leaders, business leaders, CEOs need to be very careful, because activity can make things look like they're working. You have clicks, you have inquiries, you have calls booked, you have proposal going out, you have people in the pipeline, which is lovely. But are they the right people? Are they serious? Are they commercially valuable for your business? Are they aligned with the type of work you actually want? Are they buying at the right level you sell? Are they likely to convert? Are they likely to be profitable? All of these are commercial questions, not did we get leads? Your real question is, did the lead gen activity is the right word I want you to concentrate on, did the lead gen activity create a right commercial movement for the business? And that's very different. So here's where I would start if this was my business. If I was coming to talk to the CEO, go through the business and see what's going on, this is where I start. Before touching the campaign, I first would define reliability across 5 areas. So let's go. First one is volume. How many genuine opportunities do we need each month? Not a fancy numbers, not as many as possible, real numbers. And just be honest, please, based on the capacity, your business capacity, your sales target, your margins, your conversion rates, your delivery capability, and the type of work the business actually wants. Because sometimes the business does not need more leads, you need better leads. And that is a very, very different strategy. Second, defining the reliable is quality. What makes a lead worth the sales team time? What makes it worth your time? Is that special industry? Specific industry? Is that the business size, their budget, their location, urgency, decision maker access, problem fit, contract value, project size, service fit, margin potential? If you cannot define quality, you cannot complain about the lead quality, because you have no idea what quality is. Third one, when it comes to defining the reliable, is speed. How fast? This is the one actually gets me so much. How fast do we respond when someone shows interest? And I mean actually respond, okay? Not they get an automated email, Neda. And someone might follow up later if they remember. Buyer interest, my friend, is perishable. The longer you wait, the colder the lead becomes. Fourth one is conversion. I need to know what percentage of inquiries become proper sales conversations, what percentage becomes qualified opportunities, what percentage become proposal, and what percentage close, and where are people dropping out? Because that's where the truth is, where they drop out. Now, the fifth one, the last one, is the commercial value. Are these leads becoming profitable client contracts, projects, or accounts? Because not all revenue, my friend, is good revenue. Some work looks great when it lands. I know the feeling. We've all been there. Then quietly eats your margin, capacity, and your sanity. And we're not building a busier business. I'm not for building a busier business that makes less money and gives everyone a nervous breakdown. No siree, no thank you. So if you want to make lead generation reliable, define reliability first. Because if one person in the business is chasing volume, which is usually marketing, another is chasing quality, which is you, another is chasing cheaper leads, again, marketing, or you, and another is trying to protect margin. Again, you do not have a lead gen strategy. Sales does something, marketing does something. You have internal tug of war dressed up as marketing. So the first task is simple, not easy, but it's simple. Get your leadership team, get your team, whatever size team you have, get them together. Or whoever owns the delivery, by the way, in the same conversation. And then I want all of you to define what is a good lead. What is a bad fit lead? What does reliable mean for us? And what numbers actually matters? Because once you define reliability, my friend, you can start diagnosing why it is missing. And one of the biggest reasons I've seen that it is missing is because businesses often speak to buyers as if the buyer is in the same place, on the same platform, with the same urgency. They are not. So let's talk about that. This is another one. This is where I need to say something obvious that businesses still ignores, and not just the businesses, and I've seen marketing people who still ignores. Your buyer does not behave the same way on every platform, on every channel they hang out. You know it, right? You're nodding. I know you know. They're not in the same mindset on Google as they're on LinkedIn. They're not in the same mindset reading an email as they're scrolling their social. They are not in the same mindset receiving a referral as they are landing on your website for the first time. They are not in the same mindset comparing suppliers as they casually becoming aware that they may have a problem. And yet, businesses will take the same message, same offer, and same call to action. My favorite is same call to action, and spray it everywhere. Then they wonder why it feels inconsistent. Of course it does. The buyer context is different. A buyer on Google search may already be problem aware. They might be actively looking for a commercial electrician, facility provider, software platform, an equipment supplier, a training provider, a consulting partner, or a specialist service provider somewhere. They might already have a problem they need to solve. They might be comparing suppliers. They might be close to action. So the message there needs to be clear, specific, and useful to these people. Meaning, what problems do you solve? What do you solve it for? Who do you solve it for? Why should they trust you? What makes you different? What should they do next? Let's say a buyer on LinkedIn may not be ready to inquire about anything. They might be learning, watching, and thinking, that sounds familiar, but it's not urgent yet. But it applies to my business too. It could be potential. You see, they are just thinking. So if you hit them with a hard sales message too early, it feels clunky and frustrating. Trust me. But if you give them a strong point of view, a useful insight, or language for problem they already feel but have not properly named, you start building relevance. And that's important. You see, or a buyer seeing a retargeting ad already knows something about you. They have been to your website. They have read something from you. They have clicked before. So they probably not need the same basic introduction again. Look at us. This is what we do. Excuse me. They need proof. They may need reassurance. They might need to see a case study. They may need to understand why your solution is different. They may need a reason to come back. A referral buyer is different again. They may already have trust because someone recommended you, but remember, trust does not remove the need for clarity. They still need to know, is this business right for us? Do they understand our problem? Have they worked with businesses like ours? Can they handle the size, complexity, risk, or stakes involved? Will this be worth my time? And email is different again. Email is often about timing. We all know that. Usefulness and staying relevant without becoming annoying. So when businesses ask which platform works, my answer is that is a wrong starting point. The better question is, What is the buyer trying to do on that platform? Are they searching? Are they researching? Are they comparing, validating? Are they trying to avoid a sales conversation until they feel more confident and comfortable? Are they building a shortlist before they contact anyone? Are they trying to understand whether the problem is big enough for them to act? Because your message should match the buyer's mindset. Not your internal sales target, not what you think. That is the shift I want you to have. I want you to see this. And this matters because B2B buying is no longer a neat little funnel. Buyers are using multiple channels. They're researching before they speak to you. They're comparing you before you know they exist. They are forming opinions from your website, your social content, your ads, your emails, your reviews, referrals, case studies, proposal, and whatever else they can find. So if your message is inconsistent across those places, or if it sounds generic everywhere, you're making the buyer do more work. And buyers do not reward confusion. They move on. So here's the practical starting point I want to use. I want you to map your channels. Nothing fancy, okay? Just a simple spreadsheet. Love spreadsheet. You can make it fancy and highlight. So I need to have, so the column 1, we're talking about channel. We're going to call it channel. And in there, we want Google, LinkedIn, email, website, partners, events, retargeting, industry directories, tender portals, whatever it is, whatever applies in your industry. Then we go to column 2 and we call it buyer mindset. Then under there, we're going to say, are they actively looking? Are they problem aware but not urgent? Are they comparing? Are they validating? Are they already warm? Are they looking for proof? Then we go to column 3 and we call it message. And under there, we're going to have what do they need to hear in that context. Everything applies to where they are. Do you understand? We go through the columns. Do they need problem message, a proof message, a risk reduction message, a differentiation message, a different offer, a case study, a commercial insight? Then we go to column 4, action. Under there, we want to know we want to write down. What is the right next step? Book a diagnostic call, request a question, request a quote, download a guide, speak to a technical specialist with your case study, request a site assessment, ask for capability statement, have a scoping conversation. You see, because not every platform deserves the same call to action. This is very important. This is something that a lot of people, again, marketers miss. And not every buyer is ready for the same level of commitment. We all know that, right? I just want to, before I move on to the next one, I want to say something. Same offer, my friends, same copy, same call to action. Everywhere is lazy marketing. So just try to avoid it. And lazy marketing in B2B gets very expensive very quickly. Now, so once you map where your buyer is and what they need in each place, the next question becomes, is the offer itself strong enough? And that's where we will go in part 2. But before we close part 1, this is for next week, but before we close, I want to zoom out for a moment because this is not just a marketing conversation. Lead gen is a business performance conversation. When lead gen is unreliable, my friend, the consequences do not stay neatly inside your marketing or with your agency. They show up everywhere. Sales becomes reactive. Cash flow becomes harder to forecast. The teams start chasing the wrong opportunities because we're desperate. Pricing pressure increases because we're desperate. The business takes work it should have said no to because we're desperate. Delivery gets messy, margin gets squeezed, leadership gets frustrated, and everyone starts blaming the market. Sometimes the market is harder. Of course it is. Buyers are more informed, they're more cautious, they have more option. They do more research before talking to you. They ignore irrelevant outreach. They compare across more touch points than ever. That is real. But that does not mean reliable lead gen is impossible. It means the standard has gone up. You cannot get away with lazy message. You cannot get away with vague positioning. You cannot get away with slow follow-up. You cannot get away with sales and marketing operating like two separate countries with a bad trade agreement. I don't want to name a few. And you cannot get away with treating lead gen like a campaign when the buyer experiences it as a whole business. The buyer does not care which department created the problem. They just experience the friction. They see inconsistency. They hear vague messages. They get slow responses. They compare you to everyone. And then they make a decision. So as the CEO, founder, GM, MD, your job is not to become a marketing manager. Please don't do that. Your job is to make sure the commercial system is clear. Who are we trying to attract? What problem do we solve? Why should they care? Why should they choose us? Where do they spend time? What do they need at each stage? What happens when they show interest? How do we qualify properly? How do we measure what matters? How do we learn and improve? That is leadership. That is commercial discipline. That's how you make lead gen more reliable. Not perfect, reliable. It takes a lot of time. There is a difference. Perfect is fantasy. Reliable means you understand the system well enough to manage it, improve it, and know where to look when performance drops. That is what I want more CEOs to aim for. Not more noise, more clarity, not more random tactics, a stronger system. So let's bring the part 1 of the series home. If your lead gen feels inconsistent, I do not want your first move to be changing channels. I do not want your first move to be spending more, and I do not want your first move to rewriting one ad and hoping to save your quarter. I want you to start by asking better questions. Questions like, what does reliable actually means in this business, in my business? Who are we trying to attract? What makes a lead commercially valuable for the business? Are we matching the message to the buyer's mindset? Remember we said where they're at? Are we expecting one channel to fix a system problem? Because reliable lead gen, it's not about finding one perfect channel. It's about building a system where the right buyer sees the right message on the right platform with the right offer and gets the right follow-up quickly enough for the opportunity not to die in someone's inbox. So next week, in the part 2, we are going practical. We will look at how to fix the offer before blaming the ads, how to sharpen the message so you do not sound like every other provider in the market or in your industry. We're going to talk about how to stop the first 24 hours from killing good opportunities, and how to align sales and marketing around one shared definition of a good lead. Then I will walk you through a simple 30-day lead gen diagnostic you can use with your team. I have also turned that into the downloadable resource called the Reliable Lead Gen Diagnostics. I know, very fancy name. So you can work through it properly and not just leave this as another nice idea, because we're not doing nice ideas here. We are doing useful work. That is it from me today. If this episode made you think of your own lead gen system and where it might be leaking, that's very good. That was the point. So do not just listen and nod. Start with one question: where the system is breaking. I do have that downloadable system. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you search under Neda Farzad, and just message me and say, can I have that downloadable? And I will absolutely send it to you. Thank you for being here with me. We're going to have the second part of this episode next week. Please make sure you tune in. Wishing you an amazing week ahead. Until next week, stay curious and stay kind, especially to yourself. Bye for now.